The Healing Power of Pain, Trauma and Recovery, a Self-Help Guide by Ybe Casteleyn, Austin Macaulay Publishers. About the author. Ybe Casteleyn is one of Europe's most sought-after psychotraumatologists, with clients from all over Europe, but also Syria, USA, and Afghanistan. She has worked with all kinds of trauma: people haunted by their past, survivors of child abuse, refugees, victims of accidents and crime, victims of terrorist attacks. Nowadays, she organizes online trauma courses for fellow therapists, psychologists, midwives, GPs, gynecologists, and other professionals in the field of mental health. Ybe is an avid advocate for the trauma-informed society. Dedication for you. Foreword by author and psychotraumatologist Ybe Casteleyn. The stories in this book are based on real accounts by real people who have shared their tales with me. However, each story is but a limited expression of what has been said and felt during the sessions. Body language, eye contact, the back and forth, occasionally careful, sometimes courageous, of the conversations and the sitting, feeling and thinking together cannot be summed up in words or between lines. Moreover, for privacy reasons, the names of these people have been changed and their accounts adapted to better bring across the story that we want to tell. For these and many other reasons, I would like to use this space to thank the contributors to this book, the people who shared their stories with me before this book was written. About trauma, hope, and pain, and about being human, together. Hope is the central theme of this book, a book featuring stories and exercises from my psychotherapy practice. Hope for more rest, inner peace, more empowerment, less pain, less sorrow. The hope that we can use our pain for our own healing process. The hope that pain will not lead to more pain, but that there can be relief, that it can vanish, if only a little, enough to enjoy life again. And also the hope that we don't have to go it alone, that we can ask for help from a fellow human being, someone just like us, someone equal to us, a therapist. There seems to be a taboo about therapy, when in fact it is quite a human process involving equals. In this book, trauma is used as an overall term for all the terrible wounds that we may have suffered. Being hurt by those close to us, our parents, partners, friends, or by people or situations at school, in the streets, in oppressive societies, and in war zones. Trauma causes pain, outrageous, sometimes unspeakable pain. Instead of being disempowered by your trauma, I'd like to see you being empowered by it. It is all about fundamental respect for oneself. It is this kind of pain that I, as a trauma therapist, am trying to understand, to sense, to empathize with, because I am convinced that although shared pain does not necessarily mean less pain, it makes it more bearable. Because to share pain means that you connect with each other, you look at the pain together, you approach it together, and you express your humanity together. For victims, such sharing of trauma, expressing their humanity with others, is essential, because trauma is inflicted by the exact opposite: the lack of understanding, emotional distance, estrangement, and acts of inhumanity. Resilience, that is, our ability to overcome pain and to grow in the process, is essential for recovering from trauma. We are all born with resilience. It is in our nature. We utilize the most fantastic, sometimes bizarre mechanisms to survive trauma. Our survival instinct is proof of a quiet, contained power that rests in each one of us. However, just as pain can become too overwhelming to stand, our resilience too can weaken. And this is a second aspect of my work as a therapist, to help people rediscover their innate resilience. How you can read this book. As a collection of stories. The stories in this book are about people like you and me, people who have been hurt, people who have been traumatized, people who have trouble picking up their lives again. Reading their stories, taking a peek into their lives and into the struggles of their souls, will feed the humanity in us. It shows us what trauma really is and how it can affect us, and it brings us closer to each other, our fellow humans. As a manual, each story is also a case, a report about a specific psychotherapy process. Thus, the book can serve as a guidebook for anyone who is interested in trauma and trauma processing, for parents, for those of you who work with children, for people who work in the social sector, for physicians and colleagues in the field of therapy, for people working with the law, for politicians, and for policymakers. The stories are supported by theoretical interludes, essential information, conceptual frameworks, and specific theoretical terms related to trauma are explained, clarified, and fed back to the reader. The theoretical sections can also be read independently of the stories, as a book within a book, as a series of lessons in trauma theory. As a feeling book, each story ends with an exercise for you, the reader. An exercise in which you can get in touch with what makes you resilient, with what helps you withstand your own traumatic pain. Part 3, which is dedicated to healing from trauma, also contains exercises. The exercises are designed to be as safe as possible, but it is very important that you check at all times whether they have a healing effect on you rather than a traumatizing one. If your own pain increases as you are reading the stories or doing the exercises, or if you feel anxiety, anger, or despair, put the book aside and take the time to calm yourself down. It is then best to focus on something else. For instance, tossing a tennis ball from one hand to the other. Writing down your feelings can also help. In short, if you find yourself struggling with your own pain more often, get help from another person. Nothing helps more than to feel understood. Trauma can manifest as something very physical. This is why I insisted on making this a feel book. My invitation to readers is to help them get in touch with their feelings. For more information, please visit www.thehealingpowerofpain.com, www.ybecasteleyn.b. Part 1. The impact of trauma. Traumas can cause us pain for years. They can get under our skin and become a chronic burden. They can damage us and estrange us from others, from society and humanity as a whole. And trauma, in particular, when experienced in our family of origin or in our youth, has a devastating impact on the rest of our lives. In fact, these early traumas touch us at the core of our stress response, our automatic reaction to new trauma, new pain. They have an effect on our basic level of resilience and our love for life, and they have a decisive impact on our self-image. These core traumas are the underlying reason for not being able to know ourselves, for getting lost in ourselves, for not finding any direction in our lives, and for not becoming who we want to become. Trauma can turn you into someone you don't even know, without being aware of it. Some situations simply demand too much of us. The tensions can remain in the body and shape us. Trauma. Emotional pain. I'm using trauma as a synonym for all emotional pain. Every type of hurt, however small or significant. Everything that make us shrivel up inside. All the little pains and any pain that turn us into damaged people, damaged souls. There is no objective way to rate trauma. Any attempts to classify trauma into life-threatening or threatening to mental health or non-threatening are artificial. A severe punishment can be traumatic. A humiliating comment as well. So is a horror film watched at a young age. Being without the support